Space Command remote control. It changes channels.
The UNIVAC, the world's first electronic computer.
What about regular flash cameras? Sylvania blue dot flash bulbs.
The 1960s were packed with bold ideas and futuristic dreams. But not every invention was a success. Some flopped so hard, they vanished without a trace. What went wrong? And how did these innovative products end up as total disasters? Let's dive into the 50 innovative products from the 1960s that failed miserably.
Authorities will broadcast instructions as to what to do.
Imagine a living room centerpiece so big it doubles as a footrest. That was the vacuum tube radio in the 1950s. With glowing glass tubes inside, these giants delivered a warm, crackling sound that made every news bulletin feel like a cozy fireside chat. Families gathered round, tuning dials that clicked louder than a typewriter, eagerly awaiting hits from Elvis or bulletins from world events. Sure, these behemoths guzzled power, ran hot enough to toast a marshmallow, and needed tubes swapped more often than socks, but they were the heart of every home. By the decade's end, pocket-sized transistor radios swooped in like tech ninjas, stealing the show.
With its silent sapphire permanent point pickup, which means no needle change, this tone arc...
Back when vinyl spun at different speeds, 78 RPM records ruled the airwaves until two newcomers, 45 RPM singles and long-playing, LP, records, appeared in the late 1940s. For a decade, record companies tried to juggle all three formats, so phonographs popped up sporting triple-speed functions, looking like amateur contortionists. Housewives and hipsters alike marveled at these machines, sliding out chunky 78s for radio hits, swapping in tiny 45s for pop singles, or letting LPs play full albums without flipping every few minutes. But soon, the convenience and quality of 45s and LPs won the day, sending 78s into quiet retirement.
The telegraph was the only means of rapid communication. It was direct. It was fast.
In the 1950s, urgency had a name: the telegram. Sent via telegraph wires and delivered on crisp paper slips, these messages carried an air of drama. Weddings, births, and business deals arrived in brief, blocky text stamped with a date and time. There was no room for chit-chat. Every word cost money, so senders mastered terse, punchy language. Then came the telephone boom, and later, fax machines, offering casual chats and document copies without a telegram's price tag. As phones rang in every home and office, the demand for hand-delivered urgency faded, consigning telegrams to history books.
Different things, but in most cases they were double-walled or lined inside, double-walled in most cases.
Ice boxes were the coolest kitchen gadgets before electric fridges became common, and they used real ice to keep food fresh. Homes had an insulated wooden or metal cabinet with a heavy door and a metal liner inside. Every few days, an ice delivery person would haul a big block of ice from a horse-drawn wagon and slide it into the top compartment. Cold air trickled down as the ice slowly melted, chilling milk, butter, and leftovers. It took skill to catch drips in a big drip pan that had to be emptied by hand, and opening the door too much let warm air sneak in. By the mid-1950s, electric refrigerators arrived, offering effortless cooling at the flip of a switch.
But if you have short grass like this and you cut it frequently, I highly recommend this mower.
Manual lawn mowers were the eco-friendly way to tame lawns in the 1950s. These push-powered reel mowers had a cylinder of blades that spun as you strolled, slicing grass without a drop of gas. Gentle on the earth and quiet as a whisper, they turned lawn care into a relaxing stroll. No roaring engines or smoky fumes, just the soft hum of steel cutting and the neat stripes left behind. Maintenance was a breeze. A dab of oil here, blade sharpening once a season, and they ran like clockwork. Long grass meant extra sweat, but neighbors admired tidy edges and straight lines. As gasoline-powered mowers rolled in during the 1960s, these push reels fell out of favor. Next, we wake to the hypnotic clicks of a retro timekeeper.
She'll say it's a crazy scheme. Well, look, if you don't get a hold of Alice, get the recipe.
In the 1950s, a big, boxy TV with a black and white screen was the heart of every living room. Families would settle onto mismatched sofas, leaning in to catch the latest news, westerns, or comedies flickering in shades of gray. The screen's soft glow made popcorn taste better, and everyone learned to squint just right to see the picture clearly. Repairs meant lugging the set to a local shop, where you'd pay to swap vacuum tubes that burnt out more often than you'd swap your socks. Despite their weight and fussiness, these TVs brought the world into the home like never before. Color models were still years away when a simple twist of a dial could make everyone gasp at what they saw on that tiny screen. Their impact was unforgettable.
Raise your telephone and listen for the dial tone.
Rotary dial phones reigned supreme in the good old days, their heavy handsets linking every home to the world with a simple twist of the finger. Each number required a full spin of the dial, accompanied by a satisfying click-click as it returned to place. Calls felt personal and deliberate. No accidental taps, but lots of patience for dialing long numbers. Curious kids practiced spinning all 10 digits, while adults memorized the smooth rhythm of their local exchange. Party lines meant sharing connections, so neighbors learned to wait politely for their turn. When push-button phones arrived in the 1960s, rotary dials seemed slow and fussy, but nothing could match that retro charm and the gentle hum of an operator confirming connections. They needed occasional dusting and oiling to keep the dial spinning smoothly.
Turn the set on. Select your channel. See all color shows in living color.
Zenith's Space Command remote control landed in homes back in the day like a gadget from the future. Instead of infrared beams, it blasted high-pitched sound pulses, ultrasonic clicks you couldn't hear, but that made the TV change channels or adjust volume. No more pacing back and forth to the set. Just point and click as long as batteries held out. The remote's sleek, button-free design looked space-age, though its inner metal tines sometimes wore out or got stuck. When infrared remotes arrived in the 1960s, ultrasonic models faded fast, but vintage enthusiasts still prize them today. Fully working examples are rare, each a piece of early wireless magic. These remotes ran on 2 C-cell batteries hidden inside, and their advocates still nostalgically swear by the smooth channel switches.
Electronic brain developed by Remington Rand, UNIVAC. Future use of UNIVAC may give us faster and more accurate weather predictions.
In 1951, the UNIVAC Eye rolled into the civilian world, taking up as much space as a 2-car garage and humming with thousands of vacuum tubes. Designed after wartime machines like Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, ENIAC, it handled huge data loads. Its first job was predicting the U.S. Census results. Programming meant plugging in cables and flipping switches, and the machine gulped electricity so loudly it needed its own air conditioning. Businesses marveled at its speed compared to punch card tabulators, though only 46 units were ever built. Each UNIVAC cost as much as a small office building and required constant upkeep from technicians in white lab coats. By the late 1950s, smaller and cheaper computers began to arrive, nudging the massive UNIVAC into museum halls rather than office floors.
Drive-ins took a very different approach. By allowing patrons to drive right up to the screen, they essentially invited them to make themselves at home at the movies.
Pulling into a drive-in theater in those days felt like stepping into a movie magic land built just for cars. Rows of speakers hung on posts, and a giant screen towered over grills where families unpacked snacks. Lovers leaned in under twinkling stars. Kids sprawled across car hoods, and the projector's hum became part of the soundtrack. Popcorn and soda ran down warm armrests as newsreels rolled, followed by the main feature flickering in black and white or early color. Simple radio transmitters later beamed sound through car radios, cutting wires and upgrading crispness. But suburban sprawl and indoor multiplexes eventually edged drive-ins out. Today, only a handful survive as nostalgic treasures and summer traditions.
Listen to the sound of the Maxwell House coffee pot at work.
Percolators buzzed into kitchens in the early 1950s, praised for brewing larger pots of coffee with half the ground beans a siphon maker needed. Fill the lower chamber with water, tuck grounds into the basket, and heat on the stove until coffee seeps through a central tube in rich, bubbling spurts. Big magazine ads claimed you'd save beans and money, all while serving up endless refills for morning guests. Cleanup meant rinsing tubes and baskets, but most families thought that small chore was worth every cup. Percolators became symbols of thrift and togetherness, fueling neighborhood gossip over steaming mugs. Even radio shows joked about that familiar perking sound echoing through homes at dawn. Speaking of navigation, let's explore the trusty street directories that once guided every road trip.
Some vending companies can't even switch to the new dollar coin because the changeover won't pay for itself. But there's always adaptability in the North American business world.
In the 1950s, cigarette vending machines stood in diners, bus depots, and hotel lobbies, offering instant access to smokes at the push of a button. Drop in a nickel or dime, select your brand, Marlboro, Camel, Chesterfield, and watch a pack slide into the dispenser tray. No clerk, no wait, just a quick fix for the nicotine craving. Their shiny metal doors and glass panels showed off neat rows of packs like candy. As decades passed, growing health warnings and age restriction laws limited where machines could sit, and paper ID checks became the norm. By the 1990s, most vending spots vanished, leaving only memories of that familiar clink and whir. Today, finding one feels like discovering a time capsule from America's smoking heyday.
Feeds two cards first, one after the other. The machine is designed so that when the second card enters the bed, the first card will register at the punching station.
Key punch machines were the heavyweights of data entry back in the day, turning rows of numbers and letters into paper punch cards. Operators slid blank cards into the feeder, pressed keys for each character, and heard satisfying clicks as holes punched through stiff cardstock. Entire companies relied on these machines to record payroll, inventory, and census figures. Each punch card a physical data record. Maintenance meant oiling guides and replacing type bars, and operators wore finger guards to avoid paper cuts while feeding stacks at lightning speed. Supervisors watched over banks of machines, ensuring no errors made it to the sorting rooms. Once computers could process data directly, those punch machines grew quiet and collected dust. Today, they sit in museums, silent reminders of data's analog past. Bleeps. What if you could send documents over phone lines? The Xerox long-distance copier, introduced in the late 1960s, was a pioneering but ultimately commercially unsuccessful attempt at transforming document communication.
But long before we cloned sheep, technology was cloning sheets of paper. And this cloning was done with a box that rhymed with rocks.
Known as the long-distance xerography, LDX, system, it was designed to transmit scanned documents over telephone lines, effectively enabling remote photocopying between connected machines. This concept was groundbreaking, leveraging Xerox's advancements in photocopying to allow businesses to send copies of documents much faster than through traditional mail, though transmission was not instantaneous, often taking several minutes per page.
The first copiers, which could make 7 copies per minute, were an invention 20-plus years in the making.
Despite the innovation, the system faced major challenges, including slow transmission speeds, high operational costs, and limited access to the required infrastructure. While it found some use in large enterprises, most businesses and consumers were not prepared for such technology at the time, leading to limited adoption. Nevertheless, the Xerox long-distance copier demonstrated the potential of telecommunications for document sharing and helped pave the way for later developments like fax machines and digital file transmission. The egg cuber was a quirky kitchen gadget from the 1960s designed to reshape hard-boiled eggs into perfect cubes. The process involved peeling a freshly boiled egg, placing it in the device, and compressing it into a square mold as it cooled. While it worked as advertised, the egg cuber quickly became a symbol of unnecessary invention.
Stupid kitchen gadgets, because that's what my husband calls them, but I think some of them are pretty cool. This is an egg cuber. You didn't know that hard-boiled eggs could be cubed.
It addressed no real culinary challenge, round eggs were never a problem to begin with, and the end result offered no functional advantage. In fact, cubed eggs often looked unappetizing and unnatural. Consumers found it more of a novelty than a necessity.
I made a square egg. Square.
And the extra effort required to use it wasn't worth the outcome. Without clear purpose or demand, the product flopped and faded into obscurity. Introduced in 1959 by Meade Johnson, Metrical was one of the first meal replacement diet drinks, aiming to help Americans slim down with a low-calorie, nutrient-rich beverage.
This is Metrical, dietary for weight control, to help you lose weight and avoid regaining it.
Marketed heavily in the early 1960s, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon, with dieters consuming multiple cans daily. However, the chalky taste and the monotony of a liquid-only diet led to widespread dissatisfaction. Despite attempts to diversify the product line with flavors and even Metrical cookies, the initial enthusiasm waned. By the mid-1960s, Metrical's popularity had declined significantly, making it a cautionary tale of diet fads gone awry. Liquid meals lost steam, but could hovering just above the ground catch on? In the 1960s, as hovercraft technology gained attention, the concept of personal hovercraft vehicles emerged. Designers envisioned transportation that could glide over surfaces like water, grass, and smooth pavement. These early hover scooters were marketed as futuristic solutions.
At 5,000 revs, it rides on a cushion of air and can travel just like a full-sized hovercraft. No road tax needed.
But many fell short of expectations. The technology was nascent, resulting in unstable vehicles that were hard to control and prone to tipping. Limited hover height and ineffective steering made them impractical for daily use, and the ride was often rough. Consequently, personal hovercraft remained more of a concept than a reality, fading into obscurity until later advancements in the 1980s and beyond. Launched in 1960, the Chevrolet Corvair was GM's answer to the growing demand for compact cars. Its rear-engine design and sleek styling set it apart from competitors. However, the Corvair's handling issues, particularly its tendency to oversteer, raised safety concerns.
If you're like most people who are interested in the Corvair, you want to know what it can do in action, out on the road. You want proof that the Corvair can deliver the goods.
The situation escalated when consumer advocate Ralph Nader highlighted these issues in his 1965 book, Unsafe at Any Speed. Although GM made improvements in later models, the damage to the Corvair's reputation was irreversible. Production ceased in 1969, and the Corvair remains a symbol of automotive innovation overshadowed by safety controversies. Introduced in the 1960s, the 8-track tape player promised to revolutionize the way people listen to music on the go. The 8-track was a magnetic tape cartridge system, allowing users to enjoy continuous music playback without needing to flip or rewind tapes.
And I got a 8-track that has some really good music in there, so let's see what we got here. On a night
It was an immediate hit with car manufacturers, who integrated 8-track players into vehicles, making it the first real portable music system for many. However, the 8-track quickly encountered problems. The tapes were prone to jamming, poor sound quality, and limited track selection, with each tape only holding around 40 minutes of audio. Furthermore, the bulky, cumbersome players lacked portability compared to the rising compact cassette format, and the sound quality was often inferior. By the 1970s, the 8-track was on its way out, replaced by more practical alternatives. Though it had a brief moment of popularity, the 8-track's technical flaws and its ultimate inability to adapt to consumer demands made it a relic of the past. Music tapes jammed, but could a jet-powered car race ahead? The Chrysler turbine car, introduced in 1963, was a revolutionary concept featuring a jet engine instead of a conventional internal combustion engine.
Chrysler had, in effect, found a way of harnessing the great exhaust energy of a jet-like engine by utilizing the turbine effect, much like that of wind on a windmill.
Powered by a turbine, the car promised high performance, smooth acceleration, and the ability to run on various fuels, including kerosene. Chrysler produced 50 prototype vehicles, showcasing sleek designs and futuristic features. However, despite its innovation, the turbine car faced numerous challenges. The jet engine was costly to manufacture and maintain, and it produced high levels of noise and exhaust emissions, making it impractical for everyday use. Additionally, the car's fuel efficiency was far lower than expected, and the market was not ready for such an expensive, unconventional vehicle. Ultimately, Chrysler abandoned the project due to production costs and limited demand, and the turbine car remained a fascinating but short-lived experiment in automotive history to merge audio technology with modern design, but it ultimately failed due to its niche market and the company's unstable financial footing. The Amana Rada range, introduced in the late 1960s, was one of the first microwave ovens available for home use, bringing a slice of futuristic technology into kitchens.
The 675-watt Amana Radar Range microwave oven has quality features: 2 timers, stainless steel interior, glass oven tray that catches spills and juices.
This bulky countertop unit promised to revolutionize cooking, offering the convenience of heating food in minutes. While it was a groundbreaking product in terms of speed and convenience, its early adoption was slower than expected. The Rada Range's size and price tag were significant deterrents. Early models weighed over 40 pounds and cost several $100s, making them unaffordable for many households. Additionally, the technology was new and somewhat intimidating, with users unsure how to properly operate the device, leading to a hesitancy in adoption. Over time, however, microwave ovens became more compact, affordable, and user-friendly, and Amana's Rada range eventually paved the way for the widespread microwave boom of the 1970s and beyond. Though it wasn't an immediate success, the Rada range is now recognized as a pioneer in kitchen appliance technology. Big and pricey microwaves warmed slowly. Could a new video format heat up home entertainment? In 1966, RCA introduced the SelectaVision video disc, a bold attempt to revolutionize home entertainment. Unlike VCRs, which used magnetic tape, the video disc relied on a capacitance-based system. The Imperial Model 70, introduced in the 1960s, was a novel attempt to bring voice technology to the workplace. This typewriter had the ability to speak the words being typed, designed to assist those with visual impairments or provide a more interactive typing experience. While the idea was innovative, the execution fell short. The machine was bulky, heavy, and noisy, making it impractical for office use. Its voice technology, though groundbreaking for the time, was rudimentary and often unclear, frustrating users rather than enhancing the typing experience. Additionally, the machine's high cost and limited functionality compared to more efficient, traditional typewriters led to its quick decline. The Imperial Model 70 ultimately proved more of a technological curiosity than a viable office tool, fading into obsolescence.
This is a Kodak 4600 carousel slide projector. This is a demo to show you.
Often leaving slides stuck or misaligned. Its autofocus feature was unreliable, and the device's bulk made it cumbersome for home use. Limited settings adjustments and poor performance in varying lighting conditions led to dissatisfaction among consumers. Despite initial promise, the carousel's design flaws made it a short-lived product in the home entertainment market. Slide jams plagued projectors. Released in 1965, the Polaroid Swinger brought instant photography to the masses with its affordable, user-friendly design.
Early to mid-1960s, this was one of the first affordable cameras. It only shot black and white film, and it was $19.99.
Marketed with the catchy slogan, "It's the Swinger and you're the one," it became a cultural phenomenon, especially among young people. The camera's compact size and simplicity made it an instant favorite for casual users, offering the thrill of instant photo prints for just $19.95. Though successful during its short run, the Swinger's limitations, such as basic functionality and lower image quality, eventually led to its replacement by more advanced models in the 1970s. Nonetheless, it remains a symbol of the instant photography boom of the 1960s, carving out a niche in the history of consumer cameras. Instant photos were a hit. The Sony TV-8301, introduced in 1960, was the world's first direct-view portable transistor television. With a 5-inch screen and a weight of just 13 pounds, it aimed to make TV viewing mobile, powered by both AC and rechargeable batteries. Despite its groundbreaking design, the TV-8301 struggled with poor picture quality, a small screen, and frequent malfunctions. Its high price also limited its appeal, leading to its discontinuation by 1962. While it wasn't a commercial success, the TV-8301 paved the way for future innovations in portable television. Portable TVs were groundbreaking.
It's the idea of the concentric bowls where you have a set of bowls so you can serve in them, you can store in them, but these particular...
Bright, bold, and unbreakable, Pyrex's primary color mixing bowls were the star players of every mid-century kitchen. Sold in sets of yellow, green, red, and blue, these thick, tempered glass wonders survived drops, bumps, and hot ovens without a scratch. Generations cooked, baked, and stirred family favorites in them, marveling at the cheerful hues against checked tablecloths. When Pyrex switched to pastel and patterned designs in later years, collectors went on a treasure hunt for those original solid color gems. Nowadays, thrifters and online sleuths pay top dollar, sometimes hundreds, for a pristine set. Their sturdy build means they still work like champs despite their age. Imagine laundry day as an Olympic event. First, soak clothes in boiling suds heated by a Burco boiler, a giant electric kettle designed to warm massive water batches. Then, wrestle wet linens through a mangle, a crank-operated wringer that squeezed out water faster than hand-wringing ever could. Wooden laundry tongs, hinged like giant clothespins, plucked scalding items from the suds and dropped them into rinsing basins. Blankets and heavy sheets got a bathtub bath before the mangle's jaws took over, leaving clothes damp but ready for the line. It was hard work, but it cut drying time and elbow grease in half, sort of. Now, let's talk about a message delivery service that once carried life-changing news at lightning speed. Wringer washing machines were the unsung heroes of 1950s laundry day, making chores feel less like endless elbow grease. These machines had two rollers, a wringer, that squeezed water out of clothes and towels after a good soapy bath. No more hand-twisting soaked shirts until your hands went numb. Just feed each garment through the wringer's rollers, crank the handle, and watch rivers of water drip away. It took muscle and a steady grip. One wrong move and sleeves could vanish between the rollers faster than you could shout, "Whoa!" Families gathered around, giggling as children tugged at stray socks. By the early 1960s, fully automatic machines arrived with push-button ease and left the ringer behind.
Milk delivery was popular in the 60s and 70s, but by the 90s, it had dropped.
Milk delivery was as common as the morning newspaper in the 1950s. The friendly milkman rolled onto the street in a clattering truck filled with glass bottles of fresh milk, cream, and buttermilk every dawn. There was the gentle tingle of bottles against crates and the soft whir of the cooler as doors opened. No rushing to stores before breakfast, just a quick shuffle to the porch in slippers. The milkman knew every house by name and left butter or eggs on request. Empty bottles were neatly swapped for full ones, and neighbors chatted over the fence about the day ahead. It felt personal, like a daily gift on the doorstep. But when home refrigerators became the norm and plastic jugs took over, milk rounds faded away. Up next, push your grass to perfection with a classic tool.
This is a 1950 General Electric flip clock radio.
General Electric flip clocks were the bedside stars before digital screens took over. These mechanical marvels housed tiny plastic cards that flipped every minute, creating a soft click-click sound. With clear white numbers on black backgrounds, they offered a bold time display you could read from across the room. Some models hid an AM radio, so waking up to music or news was as simple as hitting snooze. Their mid-century design featured chrome edges and rounded corners that fit any decor. Their guts ticked away without a single circuit. Today, collectors hunt for rare color schemes or radio versions on auction sites, paying top dollar for fully working pieces. The tactile flip and retro charm keep these clocks ticking despite delicate parts.
What about regular flash cameras? Sylvania blue dot flash bulbs. When the dot is blue, the bulb is good.
Flashbulb cameras were the must-have gadget for capturing indoor moments in the 1950s. Those single-use bulbs sat on top of a camera like a tiny moon, popping bright light with a soft bang that made everyone blink. Birthdays, weddings, and first days of school all lit up with perfect exposure until the bulb crushed and needed replacing. No more dark, blurry shots when the sun went down. Of course, carrying a box of spare bulbs meant bulkier camera bags, and a misfire could leave friends in half shadow. By the time electronic flashes and compact strobes rolled around, these bulbs looked old-fashioned. Yet, the thrill of that instant, glowing snapshot kept photographers hunting for their next flash. They gave off a slight, distinct chemical odor when triggered, adding to the excitement.
You would put your finger on the 3, your finger on the 2, the finger on the 9, press them together.
In 1950s stores, mechanical cash registers stood guard on wooden countertops, their rows of keys clacking under each sale. Shopkeepers rang up groceries, shoes, or mail-order gadgets with a pull of the lever, and a bell would announce every transaction. The glass window on top showed the total in bold numbers, while a paper roll printed the details for the till. Besides adding up prices, these register marvels helped cut down theft. Every sale left a printed trail. Maintenance meant oiling gears and occasionally replacing springs, but the machines kept ticking without electricity. When electronic registers and calculators arrived, these mechanical giants looked like relics, but their sturdy build and satisfying chime made them legends of retail history. Some featured charmingly decorative nameplates and colorful keys that made them stand out.
New Erector is here, the incredible construction toy your kids have been waiting for.
Erector sets first hit toy shelves in 1913, thanks to A.C. Gilbert, and for decades as kids eagerly tore into those green metal boxes. Inside were strips, girders, nuts, and bolts just waiting to become bridges, cranes, or tiny vehicles. Turning a simple beam into a working model taught patience and sparked a love for building. Every twist of a nut felt like engineering magic. But by the 1980s, bright plastic bricks like Lego stole the spotlight, and Erector sets slowly disappeared from store aisles. Today, original metal kits complete with their box and manual fetch top dollar online and at auctions. Rare editions from the 1940s or 50s can go for hundreds of dollars. Collectors hunt flea markets and thrift shops for that perfect set with every piece intact.
Now, in the automatic age of photography, you can take beautiful movies automatically. This is Kodak's new Brownie automatic movie cameras.
In the 1950s, home movies went from bulky 16mm reels to the more pocket-friendly 8mm film cameras. Families packed these little gadgets on vacations, capturing beach trips, birthday parties, and backyard barbecues in grainy color. Loading the film felt like a secret mission. You had to thread tiny spools just right or risk ruining a whole roll. The clattering advance mechanism and buzzing motor added a soundtrack to every clip. Watching those home movies later meant sour-smelling reels and a darkened room, but the excitement of seeing yourself on big screen made it all worthwhile. By the 1980s, camcorders and then digital video cameras offered instant playback without film spools, turning 8mm formats into nostalgic relics for collectors and vintage film fans.
Air conditioning, there was something called a wing window. You could turn it backwards to suck air into your vehicle and make it cooler.
Before air conditioning cooled cars, vent windows, those small triangular panes at the front, let drivers catch fresh air with a twist. A gentle turn of the chrome handle opened the vent to funnel breezes into the cabin, cutting fog from rainstorms or dispersing summer heat. Riders could adjust the angle to steer outside air around the larger windows, reducing window shake at speed. Mechanics praised these vents for being easy to fix and rust-resistant. But as built-in AC units became more common in the 1960s, vent windows lost their purpose. Car designs grew sleeker, and those little triangles vanished from new models. Still, classic car fans admire their charm and the old-school simplicity they represent.
19th century folding pocket map of the state of Massachusetts.
Before GPS voices took over, street directories were the ultimate road guide in the 1950s. These hefty books listed every street name, house number range, and landmark in town, often with fold-out maps for each neighborhood. Drivers flipped pages to find their way, tracing routes with a fingernail, occasionally pausing on the shoulder to double-check. Local businesses and new subdivisions popped up in updated editions, so owning the latest directory felt as important as having the right keys. Those bright yellow or blue spines were common on car seats and home desks alike. As paper guides, they never ran out of batteries, but they couldn't recalculate detours. By the time electronic maps arrived, these once essential guides quietly slipped off glove compartments and bookshelves.
Stranger here, but she was pretty determined, so I tried it, and I did it, quite easily. Carol was delighted.
Pressure cookers rocked 1950s kitchens by turning weeks of canning into a single afternoon's task. Fill the pot with produce, add water, seal the lid, and watch steam build up until the pressure valve hisses. In minutes, beans were tender, tomatoes soft, and pickles ready for jars. Housewives bragged about saving time and pantry space, while neighbors eyed gleaming metal pots with envy. Safety guides warned about lid locks and steam burns, but most cooks mastered the whistling rhythm like a trusted kitchen song. By the 1970s, freezers and cheap store-bought cans cut into home canning, and pressure cookers slid into cupboards. Yet vintage models still pop up in flea markets, each scar and dent a badge of countless harvests and cozy winter stews. Smell-O-Vision was a groundbreaking attempt in the 1960s to revolutionize cinema by engaging viewers' sense of smell.
Back in the 1950s, as the newfangled technology of television made its way into ever more American homes, this is the story of the brief rise and fall of Smell-O-Vision.
Invented by Hans Laube and featured in the 1960 film Scent of Mystery, the system released specific odors timed with scenes on screen, aiming to deepen immersion. While the concept was innovative, execution fell flat. Scents were poorly timed, often delayed or overpowering, and the ventilation systems couldn't distribute aromas evenly across theaters. Instead of enhancing the movie experience, it caused confusion and discomfort, with some viewers complaining of headaches and nausea. Critics mocked the gimmick, and the system quickly faded after its debut.
Guys, okay. Smell-o-vision, it's real, and it's awesome.
Technical flaws and negative reception ensured smell-o-vision was short-lived, remembered more for its failure than its futuristic ambition. Imagine a theater filled with confusing scents. How ready was the world for the next big leap? Speaking of, the Bell rocket belt looked like something straight out of science fiction, a personal jetpack designed to lift a single person into the air using hydrogen peroxide-fueled rockets.
Now this new dimension in mobility may be selected for tactical applications, and through engineering development, the rocket belt will emerge as a practical and useful device.
Developed in the 1960s by Bell Aerosystems for potential military use, it promised rapid transport over short distances, especially for soldiers navigating difficult terrain. However, the reality didn't live up to the dream. The rocket belt could only stay airborne for 21 seconds and fly a mere 120 meters, severely limiting its usefulness. It was also difficult to control, extremely loud, and dangerous to operate. Additionally, the high cost of production and the lack of practical applications led the military and commercial investors to abandon it. Despite its thrilling appearances at expos, it never took off, literally or figuratively. A jetpack that lasted only 21 seconds. What a letdown. If flying wasn't the answer, could motorized surfing be the next thrill? The motorized surfboard emerged in the 1960s as an attempt to fuse thrill with convenience, offering a self-propelled ride over water without the need for waves.
You guys have seen electric skateboards, scooters, electric cars, but have you ever seen an electric surfboard?
Equipped with small internal combustion engines, these boards promised effortless surfing for beginners and access to flat water adventures. However, the concept quickly fell out of favor. Hardcore surfers dismissed it for removing the athleticism and skill central to traditional surfing, while newcomers found the boards bulky, noisy, and difficult to control. The added weight from the motor made both transportation and maneuvering a challenge. Although environmental concerns over fuel emissions became more prominent in later decades, they weren't a major factor at the time. Ultimately, the motorized surfboard failed to enhance the surfing experience, earning little respect within surf culture and sinking as a commercial novelty. If the Panasonic TR-005, released in the late 1960s, looked less like a TV and more like something plucked off a UFO. Nicknamed the Orbital, and often referred to as the Flying Saucer TV or Eyeball TV, its bold spherical design captured the era's obsession with space-age aesthetics.
And how Whole Foods has performed year to date compared to Kroger. Kroger keeps selling more and more organic foods, and that is the story.
Mounted on a chrome tripod and capable of rotating 180 degrees, it stood out in any living room. But beneath the futuristic shell lay a tiny 5-inch screen and limited functionality that couldn't compete with more practical televisions of the day. While the TR-05 eventually gained cult status among collectors, it failed to impress mainstream consumers at the time. More design statement than household staple, the Orbital faded into obscurity shortly after its debut, another stylish casualty of 1960s innovation run amok. A funky TV design but a tiny screen. Could it really impress? Meanwhile, would people embrace video calls through a phone? The picture phone, developed by AT&T in the 1960s, was a visionary attempt to bring video calling to the masses, allowing people to see and speak to each other over long distances.
Incidentally, I understand you've become somewhat of an expert on the picture phone and have some methods that you'd like to demonstrate. Could you do anything for us, John?
The device was introduced at the 1964 World's Fair, where it garnered significant attention for its futuristic appeal. However, despite its groundbreaking concept, the picture phone failed to gain traction. The technology was expensive to produce and operate, requiring specialized infrastructure that was not widespread, making it unaffordable for the average consumer. Additionally, the video quality was poor by modern standards, and the public was not ready for such an intimate mode of communication. The picture phone was simply too ahead of its time, and by the 1970s, it was phased out. While video calling re-emerged with advancements in the 1980s and 1990s, it wasn't until the rise of platforms like Skype and smartphones that it became a widely accessible part of daily life. While the concept of a pager integrated into a wristwatch is commonly associated with modern wearable technology, there is no verified record of Motorola releasing a pager watch in 1969. The confusion may stem from Motorola's introduction of the Pageboy in 1964, one of the first successful personal pagers. Though not worn on the wrist, the Pageboy represented a major step forward in mobile communication, allowing users to receive tone or voice alerts.
Paging Dr. X. He listens to the message and, if necessary, can answer the board.
The idea of combining paging functionality with a wristwatch did not materialize in the consumer market until much later, as the necessary miniaturization and wireless infrastructure were not yet mature. Early concepts of wearable communication faced challenges such as limited network coverage, bulkiness, and high costs. Nonetheless, these early paging technologies laid important groundwork for the development of modern smartwatches and wearable communication devices. Wrist pagers were a dream. What about a car with switchable engines? The Ford Seattle IT Whiteway 1, unveiled in 1962 at the Seattle World's Fair, was a futuristic car concept designed to revolutionize transportation with its innovative features, most notably its interchangeable power units. Ford imagined a car where drivers could swap out the engine depending on their needs, such as switching to an electric unit for city driving or a more powerful one for longer trips. The car's design was sleek, with bubble-like windows and a high-tech modular aesthetic. However, the concept never materialized beyond sketches and models. The technology needed to make the interchangeable power units feasible was far too advanced for the time, and the costs of production and infrastructure were prohibitively high. The car's complexity and lack of practical application led to its abandonment, and it remained a bold vision that never reached reality. The Clairtone Project G Stereo, introduced in 1964, was an avant-garde stereo system designed by Canadian company Clairtone. Combining innovative design with high-quality sound, it featured an eye-catching, futuristic look, with speakers resembling a pair of sculptural, curvaceous towers. The stereo system was considered a luxury item, aimed at the high-end market and promoted as an art piece as much as a functional audio device. Despite its striking appearance and technical excellence, the Clairtone Project G Stereo faced significant challenges. The high cost, limited market appeal, and an overambitious approach, focusing more on design than user experience, meant it was not able to maintain broad consumer interest. Additionally, the company's venture into television manufacturing was financially disastrous, leading to the eventual bankruptcy of Clairtone in the late 1960s. The Project G Stereo is remembered as a bold attempt toward superior picture quality and instant access to movies. However, the technology faced critical issues. The discs were prone to wear and degradation, the players were expensive, and the format failed to gain widespread adoption.
The market wasn't interested, it had already moved on to other things. RCA pretty much bet the farm on video disc and lost the lot.
Despite initial interest, RCA discontinued the video disc by the early 1980s, cementing it as a significant failure in the home video market. The RCA radio telephone, introduced in the 1960s, was an early attempt at creating a mobile phone. It was designed to allow people to make phone calls on the go, offering unprecedented mobility for communication.
Breaker Alpha Bravo Charlie Tango Cash.
However, the radio telephone was hindered by its sheer size. It was large and bulky, resembling a suitcase more than a portable device. Additionally, the cost of both the phone and its usage was prohibitively high, making it accessible only to the wealthiest individuals or businesses. The technology was also unreliable, with poor reception and short battery life. Due to these practical limitations and high prices, the RCA radio telephone never gained widespread adoption, fading into obscurity before the development of more refined mobile phones in later decades. Introduced in 1969, the Kodak carousel projector was designed to transform slide viewing with its motorized carousel for automatic slide changes. However, the projector suffered from frequent jams. Could a giant red truck drive interest? The Ford Big Red, introduced in the 1960s, was a striking truck concept designed to showcase Ford's engineering prowess and push the boundaries of commercial vehicle design. With its massive size, bold red color, and oversized tires, it commanded attention and made a lasting impression.
Big Red is an experimental gas turbine-powered super truck for the 1970s. It was conceived and computer-designed by Ford Motor Company engineers.
The Big Red was equipped with a powerful engine and designed to demonstrate Ford's ability to create a truly unique vehicle. However, despite its dramatic design, the truck was impractical for real-world use. Its enormous size made it cumbersome to maneuver, and its specialized design offered little functionality for everyday commercial needs. The truck's high costs also made it unfeasible for most businesses. Although it garnered significant attention at auto shows, the Ford Big Red never progressed beyond the concept stage and ultimately did not transition into a production vehicle. But could a sporty station wagon ever work? Would families embrace a muscle car with extra space? The Ford Mustang station wagon, a concept introduced in the 1960s, aimed to combine the sporty appeal of the Mustang with the practicality of a station wagon. The goal was to create a family-friendly version of the iconic muscle car, offering more space while maintaining the Mustang's performance.
This car was finished in 1991, started life as a 1966 coupe, a C-Code, which is a 289 two-barrel car, and was converted to, as you see it here, which Mustang station wagon.
However, the concept never reached production. The sporty image of the Mustang was seen as incompatible with the utilitarian nature of a station wagon, and the two ideas didn't align well within Ford's vision for the brand. Additionally, the market was already saturated with traditional station wagons, and there was limited consumer demand for a more expensive, performance-oriented version. Despite its innovative premise, the Ford Mustang station wagon was ultimately abandoned, failing to generate significant interest from both consumers and the company. But what about hitting the road? Could a smaller travel trailer still offer comfort? In 1969, Airstream aimed to capture the growing RV market with the introduction of the Caravelle, a smaller, lighter version of their iconic aluminum travel trailer. The Caravelle was designed to be more affordable and maneuverable, offering a sleek, compact alternative to larger Airstream models. While it appealed to those seeking the Airstream style at a lower price point, it faced a key drawback: its limited interior space. The smaller size provided less comfort and fewer amenities compared to other RVs.
The Caravelle has ducted AC, so it's going to spread the AC, the coolant throughout the coach, a little bit better than the Bambi. The Bambi has the ceiling AC that just kind of dumps it out,
which turned off many potential buyers. Despite its stylish exterior and solid construction, the Caravelle failed to capture the larger RV market, leading to its discontinuation just a few years after launch.